What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And this one I'm going to break down what's going on with NIO stock and what you should be watching for going forward. I'm also going to talk about what the news is saying about NIO stock, what data just came out from the Fed, and what the technicals are telling us for NIO, SPY, Tesla, and the QQQ. Before I break anything down about all this information, though, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO is up about 1.89% for the day. It's kind of green the after hours as well, and it's holding up quite nicely. But the question is, will NIO continue to pump, or is NIO about to see the opposite happen? And in my opinion, looking at the current chart, it's actually looking quite bullish so far. It's continuing to make higher highs and higher lows. Today it did stagnate right over here, actually, at this 10.5 area. This is the next resistance zone, but it's continuing to hold up above the 50 EMA very nicely. So there's no really sign of this thing breaking down. A break below the 50 EMA would give us confirmation that NIO is going to sink a bit, but so far that has not happened. And there's a potential bullish triangle-like formation that is starting to develop, because the more NIO touches this 10.5 area, the more likely it is to actually break above it and start pushing for that next resistance. Now, we had this imbalance at 10.4. That's where NIO went to. If it gets above this resistance zone, it's going to likely make its way up to 10.98 as the next major resistance. There's a good chance that's going to happen, but it's going to depend a lot on the market and what happens with the news cycle going forward for NIO. But for now, things are looking pretty positive looking at what just came out. The news is talking about how NIO may have earnings over the next couple of weeks. There's no confirmed date according to what I'm looking at, but typically NIO does report earnings a little bit later than other stocks, especially on the tech sector. So it may take a couple of weeks until this comes out. But the NASDAQ is saying it's going to be around the 9th of August. So if it is around then, that once again could be very impactful for NIO. We will see when that actually happens, though. I don't really have any specific dates just yet. NIO hasn't confirmed this yet. They're going to confirm this a little bit later. But for now, we have many weeks until earnings. I just want to make that as clear as possible. On top of this, we're getting more talks about the Chinese EV deliveries numbers that just came out over the last couple of days. Once again, very bullish for the entire sector. But if you look at NIO in particular, it's also making some headlines, and they're talking about how NIO is declining for the last couple of months. You could see this decline in NIO's monthly deliveries, declining, then all of a sudden we got our first nice bounce, and overall it is respecting this nice uptrend you could see right here from the averages. So I think NIO looks nice. So far we're getting a nice uptrend in deliveries. We want to see another strong second half. They are promising that that's most likely going to happen. I think it's very likely as well. And we want to see NIO continue to break out. Now, when NIO breaks many records and does very well with deliveries or earnings, it tends to do very well when it comes to the price performance of the stock. If they keep it up, we're going to see lots of bullish price action for it. But until then, until we get more data, I'm going to be very patient when watching this play. Now, when it comes to the whole rate hikes going on with the Fed and what they just announced, there's a very high probability the Fed's going to give us another 25 basis point rate hike. Now, the market, it would be expecting this. It would not be a big surprise to the market. So I don't really see this causing the market to crash very hard. It could cause a small pullback, but I don't really see it being that bad so far. But this is all going to depend a lot on CPI, which is coming out for next week. Now, when it comes to the data, let me just remind you guys that the Fed has come out and they said that the Fed has to remain very, very hawkish in their policy because the economy is too hot, right? They want to see a slowdown in aggregates demand. In order to do that, they have to cool down the economy. They mentioned that the GDP growth has been a little bit too strong from what they're expecting, and they may have to cause the markets to slow down with some more stringent policies. The Fed speakers and many of the Fed officials said today that they may have to continue with their hawkish policy, which could lead to a recession. They said a mild recession is on the table, and all this information is going to have a big effect on what happens to everyday Americans' lives. So it's worth noting that moving forward, this is going to affect the markets, but for the time being, the market is not really too phased by this. The market cooled off a little bit, but it got bought up afterwards. It didn't really affect it that badly. So the market already knows a lot of this, and the market's not letting it really affect its price performance for now. So once again, it's a little ironic, but it's also because a lot of people started shorting the market when the Fed said that, and lots of these shorts just did not end up with the best results on their sides. There's also very high open interests for particular positions up above on both SPY and Apple. I could talk about those later on. But for NIO, we have another increase in the overall short volume relative to price. It's actually at about 53%, which is showing some signs of improvement for the stock, right? It used to be at these much higher levels. Now it's starting to downtrend. That's what's helping NIO continue to push up. We're also getting this news about how the overall short interest is starting to go up a bit. That is, once again, helping NIO to potentially squeeze if there is another big move to the upside. But it's nothing too significant compared to like previous levels. So a slight increase could be good for some of these people out there who are holding their NIO shares, because this could lead to more squeezing. But at the same time, like I said before, they may have a reason to try to continue to come in. We just don't really see negative news just yet. And then for the volume, it was very close to average, a little bit below it, but nothing too bad. Last but not least, right over here, when it comes to the news that just came out, NIO reported that on July 4th, they opened their Berlin Innovation Center, and that's going to focus on AI and user experiences. So once again, some good stuff is coming out. I mean, it's looking quite nice. And there's a potential bullish triangle right here on the 1 hour time frame for NIO as well. So if this does play out and we break this like 10.5 resistance, we could see this thing start flying for the next major level. There's some resistance around that 10.75 to 10.8 area, but it's nothing too major. The next zone I'd be watching for would be at 10.98 if it does break above that. Now, this is looking more bullish than bearish. We're making higher highs and higher lows, or at least we were, and now we're starting to consolidate. I think it may continue to trade sideways for a little bit longer before it just tries to eventually break out. If it gets and holds above 10.5, it's going to be a bullish signal for NIO, and we could see NIO continue to pump all the way up to get closer to $11, or at least like 10.98. Overall, it looks quite nice, so we're going to be watching that carefully. Now, for the bears, you're going to be watching for a test of the 50 EMA, just like how we did today. That's going to be very close to $10 flat by tomorrow, as this is on an uptrend. So watch the 50 EMA support in the 1 hour time frame. If that breaks for NIO, if it breaks below this, that's going to be a bearish signal. Watch that carefully. It's been hovering above this for the last couple of days, actually over a week. It's been just hovering above this. So we will see if this continues to hold. For now, it's holding up nicely and has a lot of potential to continue to break out. For Tesla started to cool off just a little bit today after that news that came out from the Fed. You can see right over here. It touched 277 at one point, came back up, then came down to like the 278s. But then at the end of the day, there was some bullish news involving VW that came out for Tesla, and this thing pumped very nicely. Overall, I think Tesla's going to go up to $300 as we approach earnings. I think that's a lot of momentum building up, lots of buying pressure, and it's getting stronger and stronger as the days go on. Now, it could also be forming kind of like a cup and handle like formation if it hasn't really done so already. I don't know how low the candle will take. I don't even think it's going to drop much. It just looks really strong. It looks like it wants to break out soon. And now, I mean, it invalidated a lot of these like sell signals I was potentially getting right here. It's getting a lot stronger, and I think there's a good chance, like I said before, it's going to make its way up to $300 as we approach the next couple of weeks. Earnings is going to be around July 19th. Sorry about that, July 19th. I think that this could see some signs of consolidation, some sideways days, but then it's just getting ready for the next push up, the next level, and I see this thing getting to at least $300 over the next few weeks. Last but not least, for SPY and the QQQ, SPY has a potential bullish setup right now, but it's actually looking more bullish than bearish, of course, but it's also stuck in this range between 444 and 441.5, going back and forth and back and forth. Now, when it gets tight like this oftentimes signifies something big is coming. I don't know if I still have my Bolingers. I think I have them right here. So with these Bolingers, you could see it's just getting very tight. Just like these instances right here, it's going to get very, very tight before a bigger move comes. That tells me that this thing is getting ready for some big price action very soon. If it breaks above 444, it's going to push all the way up to 446, potentially all the way up into the high 440s. We could see 448, which has very high open interest after that. If that breaks, I mean, there's 450, which is another possibility. If this thing breaks down, a break below 440 would give us more confirmation that this thing is going to sink all the way down to 436. But not even the Fed announcing a potential recession was enough to break this market. So the odds do favor upside, but wait for confirmation if it breaks above 444. Overall, I'm expecting some more consolidation and maybe some more upside. The triple Q it was a little bit tight. It made a nice move to the upside from cooling off a tiny bit. Still is a little tight. It's not that bad though. If this thing continues to break out, right, we had this nice inverse head and shoulders that formed on it. It's like right here. This played out quite nicely. A break below 372.5 372.81 would take this thing up to like 375. That's going to be our next level to watch for. And I could see it make its way all the way up there. 375 is possible on the triple Q if it breaks out. But if it breaks down, you're going to be watching supports. 370 is going to be support than 368 because that's where our 50 EMA is. If that breaks, it has some more potential for downside, but it's holding up quite nicely. The overall trend is showing some signs of consolidation, and a very good chance it's going to retest this 372 zone and a nice break above that, and we could see this thing fly to 375. But for now, just be patient and watch this very carefully, and we're going to be watching and seeing how this thing ends up moving. Now, until then, watch all these stocks very, very carefully. Watch for confirmations and just know the bulls have the edge going forward. There are going to be some unemployment numbers coming out for tomorrow, which could cause some more like consolidation and stuff. But the market is still showing strength. It's holding up very nicely, and there's not really any confirmation in favor of the bears heavily for most tickers, at least the ones I just named. Good chance the market's going to try to bounce. And I will see you guys very soon for the next video. We only have 2 days of the week left. It feels very unusual because we're closed yesterday. But anyways, thank you for listening. Have a great day. NIO to the moon is long term is very bright. And peace out.